And now Clark comes up with a steal. Clark thought about pulling up from three, will tip inside and lay it in.
In a jaw-dropping twist that nobody saw coming, what was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's glorious homecoming in Indianapolis turned into the WNBA's biggest nightmare. The city plastered her face across billboards, rolled out the red carpet, and hyped up what should have been a historic All-Star weekend. Instead, empty seats, angry fans, a boycott that left everyone asking, how did the league fumble this badly? And how did Clark's sudden injury flip everything upside down? Welcome to the all-star disaster the WNBA never saw coming. Indianapolis had spent months preparing for this. The hype was off the charts. Airport displays, local shops overflowing with merch, restaurants hiring extra staff. Everyone was bracing for a sold-out weekend. And at first it looked like a slam dunk. Tickets vanished within hours, resale prices soared past $260, and courtside seats were selling for thousands. This was officially the most expensive WNBA All-Star game ever, and all of it revolved around one name, Caitlin Clark. She was the headline, the main event, the reason fans were flying in from across the country. But just as the excitement hit its peak, disaster struck. News broke that Clark had suffered a groin injury and wouldn't be playing. Within minutes, the energy vanished. Ticket prices nosedived 75%, from $262 to just $64 as panic swept through resale sites. Sellers were slashing prices like clearance day at a dying mall, but nobody was buying. The city that had been buzzing with excitement suddenly went silent. Fans sent a clear message: no Caitlin, no game. People weren't just disappointed, they were furious. Some canceled flights, others checked out of hotels early, and many simply refused to show up. What was meant to be a celebration turned into a humiliation. The WNBA couldn't ignore it anymore. The whole fiasco exposed an uncomfortable truth. Without Clark, the league's spotlight dims fast, and this wasn't an isolated incident. Back in May, when Clark missed games with a quad injury, ticket prices for the Washington matchup dropped 47%. Chicago's game fell 71%. But this time, it wasn't just about sports. It was about economics. Local businesses that had bet big on the All-Star weekend were left counting losses. Merch vendors couldn't move product. Hotels faced last-minute cancellations. Restaurants sat half-empty. The city that expected a basketball festival got a financial gut punch instead. Inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the vibe was grim. The empty seats told the story. The bars nearby? Quiet. The energy? Gone. It wasn't just a game that collapsed. It was the illusion that the league's booming success was built on a solid foundation. The uncomfortable reality was now impossible to deny. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's the league's lifeline. Her absence didn't just hurt attendance, it shattered the illusion of stability. The All-Star game lost its magic, and the WNBA was forced to face the harsh truth it had been avoiding all season. Without Caitlin Clark, everything the WNBA had built up suddenly looked fragile. What made it worse? This was only the second time in league history that an All-Star weekend had truly revolved around one breakout superstar. In the past, the event was more ceremony than spectacle, filled with talent, sure, but missing that one electrifying name that pulled in the whole country. This time, that name was Caitlin Clark, and the injury that ruined it all didn't come out of nowhere. It was months in the making. For an entire season, Clark had been taking hit after hit, shoved, grabbed, blindsided, and the referees just let it happen. No calls, no protection. The constant pounding added up until her body simply broke down. By the time All-Star Weekend arrived, she'd given the league everything and gotten almost nothing in return. So how did we end up with a WNBA All-Star game in Clark's own home state without Clark herself on the court? Was she treated fairly? Let's break it down. From the start of her rookie year, Caitlin Clark became a target. Overnight, she was the league's lightning rod, the one everyone wanted to test, to knock down, to humble. And the numbers prove it. Clark absorbed 20% of all flagrant fouls in the entire WNBA last season. That's not tough defense. That's a pattern. Many of those hits came from Angel Reese in the Chicago sky, turning games into personal battles that went far beyond basketball. Even worse, the taunting. After some of those hard fouls, players laughed in Clark's face, mocking her like it was a game within the game. In any other profession, this kind of treatment would be called assault. In the WNBA, it was somehow just competition. Her coach, Stephanie White, saw the double standard from day one. As both an opponent and later as Clark's coach, White noticed how referees allowed brutal contact against her that wouldn't fly for anyone else. Game after game, Clark was hammered while officials stood frozen. White called it out repeatedly and got nothing but silence. So the Fever staff shifted strategy. Since the refs wouldn't protect Clark, they'd have to teach her to survive it. But this wasn't just about one player. It was a symptom of a league-wide problem. The Washington Post even slammed WNBA officiating, joking the league should change its logo to a bruise with the slogan, "No call." And it wasn't wrong. Watch the replays. Clark's arms grabbed, her drives cut off with body checks, her jump shots disrupted by shoves, all ignored. When refs don't enforce the rules, rough play becomes the game plan. Teams learned fast, target Clark and you'll get away with it. This season, the same thing's happening to Sophie Cunningham, now Clark's teammate. She's taken more flagrant hits than almost anyone except Clark and Aaliyah Boston. Together, they've become the faces of a bigger issue, officiating that's inconsistent at best and negligent at worst. Soft fouls get called on the Fever, while blatant contact against them is shrugged off. And that brings us to the real problem, the cost of that negligence. Across just the last 2.5 seasons, the WNBA has seen 57 head and neck injuries. That's not a coincidence. That's what happens when officials let dangerous play go unchecked. Especially for smaller guards like Clark, who take the brunt of those hits. Even Lisa Leslie, one of the sport's legends, has spoken about how serious it is. She's seen it before. Back in 2006, a groin injury nearly derailed her own career, and she knows exactly what Clark is going through. This isn't just about missed games. It's about a league that punishes talent instead of protecting it. Caitlin Clark didn't just get injured. She got worn down by a system that let it happen. She warned that injuries like this don't just fade, they linger. Sometimes for months, sometimes for years. And that's the harsh truth Caitlin Clark is facing right now. Not because of bad luck, not because that's just basketball, but because officials failed to do their job. This wasn't a random accident. It was the final consequence of months of unchecked physical play. Caitlin wasn't just competing. She was getting shoved, grabbed, and slammed, often with zero calls. Every missed whistle chipped away at her health until her body finally gave out. The WNBA didn't just fail to protect her. They failed to protect their biggest investment. The league's most marketable player, the one driving record attendance and TV ratings, was left to fend for herself. And now the fallout is real. Ticket sales are plummeting. Fans are furious. Sponsors are quietly stepping back. The league's credibility is in free fall. That same WNBA legend spoke candidly about her own groin injury, describing how she had to wrap her thigh and glute just to stay on the court. The pain, she said, wasn't sharp or simple. It was deep, hard to locate, and harder to ignore. Recovery demanded therapy, heat, ice, and rest. But Caitlin Clark doesn't have that luxury. She's the face of a franchise, the engine of an entire league, forced to keep pushing through an injury that could explode at any second. You can take painkillers, feel fine, and then one quick cut or fast pivot. The agony hits again like a lightning bolt. That's the cruel reality of this kind of injury. It never fully heals. You just learn how to manage it. That same legend admitted she still feels it today, even years later when she plays tennis. So when the league's most valuable player went down, how did Commissioner Kathy Engelbert handle it? With silence. While fans protested, tickets went unsold, and social media exploded with outrage. Engelbert had a golden opportunity to lead, to admit the problem, take accountability, and rebuild trust. Instead, she gave fans a corporate script. Her press release was polished but hollow. full of vague promises about shared goals and constructive dialogue. She never mentioned officiating, never acknowledged Clark's injury as a result of league failure. Players had been risking fines all week to call out bad refereeing, and instead of action, they got public relations spin. Fans didn't want buzzwords. They wanted truth, a public apology, accountability, and assurance that the league would finally protect its stars. But Engelbert brushed it off, saying no one's ever fully happy with officiating, as if this were just another debate. Meanwhile, the All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis, Clark's home state, turned into an embarrassment. Empty seats, restless fans, and a superstar sidelined. While local businesses lost money and fans walked away, the commissioner kept talking about profitability and growth. It was surreal. Fans weren't buying the optimism anymore. They were boycotting with their wallets. What they wanted wasn't marketing talk, it was honesty. A real apology. A real plan. So the question now is simple. Can the WNBA change before it loses everything Caitlin Clark helped build? Let's take a closer look. Helped build? Let's take a closer look.